This idea that the firebombing of Teslas constitutes domestic terrorism, do you think it does?
No. Let's be clear about a couple of things. First of all, the firebombing of Teslas is unbelievably dumb. It's so dumb that it makes like it. I originally thought it was like a false flag operation. Like, who would be so stupid as to gift wrap this kind of action for Elon Musk and Donald Trump? It's like if I didn't know that it wasn't Trump and right wingers, etc.
In today's video, Cenk Uygur absolutely destroys Piers Morgan in this heated debate about Elon Musk's current involvement in the US government and what's happening to his company, Tesla. And let's be real, Tesla stock hasn't just dipped, it's taken a hit. And it's not because people stopped liking electric cars, it's because Elon Musk can't stop inserting himself into political chaos, social media flame wars, and far-right culture battles. Investors are nervous, and rightfully so. Cenk lays it out. When the CEO of a major company becomes a full-time troll, it will impact the business. Brand trust drops, consumer confidence drops, and ultimately, surprise, stock prices drop. So let's dive in and watch how Cenk Uygur shuts down Piers Morgan in this heated debate.
Anyway, I don't even want to get into how ridiculously stupid it is. So radical left, cut the crap out. And it doesn't apply to everyone on the far left. It just applies to these idiots who did it. Now, in terms of calling it terrorism, the word is disgusting. I hate it. We should never use it again. All it is hypocrisy on top of hypocrisy. So Hamas does terrorism is terrorism. Israel does 50 times worse terrorism, not terrorism. So Tides Foundation is attacked. So that's George Soros's foundation, not terrorism. That's a physical, violent attack against human beings, not terrorism. An attack on cars, terrorism, right? Pipe bombs from a Trump supporter who does not represent all Trump supporters like this. These guys don't represent all of the left, but he does pipe bombs to all of Trump's political opponents, not terrorism. Dylan Roof says, here's why I'm doing it. I'm a political terrorist. I want to kill black people and start a race war, not terrorism. We get him Burger King. But you attack cars, terrorism. No, the use of the word domestic terrorism is going to divide us all, is going to make us hate each other and turn inward. Last time we used verbiage like this, we attacked Iraq. This time, we're attacking ourselves. The neocons are back.
But if you're firebombing things with Molotov cocktails that create gigantic furnaces and you're doing it for political reasons, is that not a form of terrorism? And if it happens on American soil, is that not then just automatically domestic terrorism? You're completely right that many other things that have happened have been deliberately not labeled that for political reasons by the Republicans. But it seems to me that by the yardstick of what domestic terrorism constitutes, acting for political reasons in a very violent manner that imperils life, isn't that domestic terrorism?
Piers, if we go down this road...
Kaizen, I'll bring you in after Cenk responds to what I just said.
First off, let's be clear. Firebombing Tesla is idiotic, dangerous, and absolutely illegal. No one's defending it, not even Cenk. Those involved should face serious charges: arson, assault, property damage, you name it. But labeling it domestic terrorism, that's where the conversation starts to slip into dangerous territory. Cenk makes a crucial point. The term terrorism in the US is used selectively and politically. When right-wing extremists shoot up a black church like Dylan Roof, or when someone like Cesar Sayok sends pipe bombs to Democrats, those acts should be called terrorism. But they usually aren't. Instead, we get media euphemism like lone wolf, mentally ill, or just radicalized. No sweeping label for the entire political movement they're associated with. Now, compare that to this Tesla incident. No one was injured as of now, and yet suddenly folks are rushing to declare it domestic terrorism and link it to the radical left. That's a massive double standard. It's not about consistency, it's about political convenience. But let's see what Cenk has to say.
Yeah, Piers, this is a super dangerous road. And I have to tell you, I've been guilty of it too. So look, I've used the word domestic terrorism and relates to countless right-wing attacks. The El Paso attack, they said, I'm trying to murder Latinos. Dylan Roof's saying, I'm trying to murder black people. I'm trying to start race wars, et cetera, et cetera. And I've called that way. If we're going to call it terrorism, let's be consistent, et cetera. Now, those are never, ever, ever called terrorism. And if a right-winger ever does anything, it's never, ever, ever called terrorism. If Israel does it, it's never called terrorism. So I hate the word. It's a disgusting, politically loaded word. But much more importantly, even more important than all of that is, if we start calling each other terrorists, the left and the right, there's going to be no end to it. And it's going to lead to a civil war. And the other thing that you have to understand is this is a way to shut down all speech. Oh, now, okay, since 2 or 3 idiots did something violent, who, by the way, who they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. There's very significant crimes here: arson, assault, battery, trespassing, 1,000 crimes you could charge them with. But we start calling each other terrorists, and no one will have any free speech left. I guarantee it.
Well, there's certainly an element of that. Kaizen, I'll bring you back in. I mean, I think there's been a lot of hypocrisy on both sides about this, actually. People use terminology when it suits them to suit their own side. There's no question of that. I've seen it happen on both sides. But I do think Cenk's got a point there. There is a slippery slope, isn't there? If everything starts being labelled domestic terrorism, because actually the vast majority of the Tesla protesters, and I suspect this will be the case when we see the demonstrations, if they're exercising their democratic right to peacefully protest, that's a fundamental bedrock of American society.
Now this is where Cenk's warning really hits home. Once we start throwing around the word terrorist for any political charged act of violence, especially when it's property damage, not harm to people, we're on a slippery slope. Because that label doesn't just criminalize individuals, it delegitimizes whole movements. It becomes a tool to shut down protest, dissent, and speech. We've seen it before, after 9/11, after BLM protests. Terms like terrorist and extremist get weaponized to justify surveillance, crackdown, and stripping civil liberties. And let's not ignore who's at the center of this: Elon Musk. This guy's been cozying up to far-right voices, restoring banned accounts, and amplifying conspiracies on X. This isn't someone who's just sitting quietly running a car company. He's inserting himself into the culture war.
Cenk, I want to ask you this on a bigger picture. At some point, if Tesla stock keeps tanking and the global campaign to take down Tesla because they don't like Elon Musk continues at the rate that it's going and becomes a real existential threat to one of his biggest companies, at what point does Elon Musk give up his political career? You know, get out of the White House, get out of Mar-a-Lago, get away from Donald Trump and come and save his businesses?
Yeah, I don't really care about his businesses at all. In fact, the number one thing I want is the government to stop subsidizing his businesses. So all this theoretical cutting from Doge, did it cut a single corporate subsidy, whether it's for Tesla, SpaceX, et cetera, or just any other giant corporation? No, the corporations are thrilled with what Trump's doing. Trump's now become a Trojan horse, pretending to be a populist and unleashing these tech corporate CEOs on us who are not touching a single corporate subsidy. And to what the brother said earlier, he's like, well, you know, we need to try this approach. Okay, I would love to try the approach of cutting. I suggested cutting the defense. Have they done that? No, they did the exact opposite. Their budget added $100 billion. So are we dealing in the fact-based world? And you're talking about the deficit and the debt. I agree with you, man. So when the right or the left says, oh, the debt doesn't matter, it drives me crazy. No, it does matter. It's a matter of economics, right? And so what are they doing? Trump is proposing a $4.5 trillion tax cut for the richest people in the world and for corporations. What does that do to the debt? I can do math. It adds $4.5 trillion to the debt. So why are we giving a giant corporate giveaway of an unbelievable amount of money? They said Doge would save $2 trillion. Then they're like, oh, just kidding, $1 trillion. Just kidding, almost nothing. And now we're going to take the $4.5 trillion anyway. Don't worry about it. We'll make it up in gold cards. We'll make it up in tariffs. We'll make it up in fairy tales. And Snow White and Cinderella will dance in and somehow magically not add to the debt. They're going to increase the debt massively. And to what Bishop said, listen, do not conflate the great anger of the American people and the frustration with these billionaire donors on both the left and the right, the Democratic Party and the right and the Republican Party, with what a bunch of idiot radicals are doing in lighting Teslas on fire. Because if you conflate those two things, then it feeds into the right-wing narrative. And Piers, the most important thing out of all this entire discussion is words like domestic terrorism, now Pam Bondi with the mental use of the word weapons or phrase, weapons of mass destruction, and this talk of defamation, billionaires, Trump and Elon Musk suing anyone who criticizes them. What happened to free speech absolutism? Now it's thin-skin absolutism. Oh no, you hurt my feelings. I'm going to sue you. Oh, my stock's down. I'm going to sue you. Brother, I don't have anything to do with your stock. Your stock is your business. You chose to play dress up in the White House and pretending that you're going to cut things and just shovel more corporate subsidies to you and your friends. Don't come crying to me about how your stock is crashing when you're not even running these companies. So go back to work or shut up. Oh my God, I'm sorry, did I offend you? Are you going to sue me? Is it defamation? Did I hurt your feelings? Get out of here, man. What happened to free speech? What happened to free speech?
People are protesting because they don't like Elon. They're protesting because Elon is gutting our federal government. We have a complete oligarchy running this country, and thousands and tens of thousands of hardworking Americans, including veterans, are being arbitrarily fired by this unelected billionaire. That's why people are protesting, not just because they quote unquote don't like Elon.
Yeah, but it's also true, Taylor. Look, I get all the fury, fine, okay. But actually, I thought that Kaiser made a very good point earlier, which is everyone's tried everything else for decades and decades and decades. And none of it.
What billionaires have run this country? As Kaiser acknowledged, both political parties have had billionaires in power. We absolutely have not, quote, tried everything else. What are you talking about? We've had rich people running this country for way too long.
Cenk's absolutely right to say that the government is still propping up Elon Musk's empire, SpaceX, Tesla, even Solar City back in the day. These companies have received billions in government subsidies, tax credits, and contracts. According to a Los Angeles Times analysis, Elon's company had pulled in nearly $5 billion in government support years ago, and it's only gone up since. What Cenk is saying loud and clear is that the American people are fed up, not just with Elon, but with the billionaire class as a whole. People are watching unelected billionaires like Musk and Trump pretend to be populists while gutting labor protections, stripping government services, and enriching their cronies. Meanwhile, working class folks, vets, teachers, federal workers are losing their jobs because some dude who thinks he's Tony Stark is throwing tantrums in the Oval Office. At the end of the day, Cenk's not defending the violent actions, he's defending the right to be angry, the right to demand better, and he's calling out the fake populists who talk about freedom while selling the country to their billionaire friends behind closed doors. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.